It's an obligation. It is most certainly not optional. It is probably the one video I do each year that I hate, and the one video each year that gives me, without a shadow of doubt, the most stress. Who would have thought putting 24 football clubs in a ranking would cause a human being this much stress? But that is the deal with the set of championship predictions that we put out before the start of every championship season, and it is no different this time. The 24-25 edition of the championship season. So without any further ado, let's get straight into it. In 24th place, I have got newly promoted Oxford United. I'm really sorry, Oxford fans. I do like the recruitment. Obviously, losing Josh Murphy is a massive blow, and him coming good in the last part of the League One season was a massive part of why Oxford went up. I do like the recruitment, as I mentioned. Will Volks, Matt Phillips, and Matt Ingram provide a little bit of experience and some championship know-how, and like some Malcolm Ebiowei and Plymouth Argyle had to add a bit of the kind of unknown on the wings. I do like the recruitment, but the step up in quality and the fact that they are kind of building a new team at a higher level, a far more competitive level, with a lot more better teams around them, it's going to be tough. So I'm sorry, Oxford fans, and I'm sorry, Oxford. It's just going to be a bit of a rebuilding job for Des Buckingham. And yeah, I've got you 24th. In 23rd and second bottom, I have gone with Plymouth Argyle. Plymouth last season under Stephen Schumacher were excellent, and then after he left had a bit of a drop off, and eventually survived on the final day under Neil Dewsnip, the caretaker manager. In the close season, they have appointed the Marmite character that is Wayne Rooney. Obviously disastrous at Birmingham, but I just feel like a lot better teams, in my humble opinion, are in and around the bottom kind of 6 region in the championship this season compared to last season. And despite Plymouth racking up quite a lot of points for a 21st place side last season, I just struggle to see them coping this time around, and especially if they lose a Michael Cooper who's being heavily linked with Sheffield United, or a Morgan Whittaker. I just don't see them having the financial kind of muscle power in the championship to be able to replace them to an adequate quality whilst staying up in the championship as well. So I'm sorry, Plymouth fans, I've got you 23rd and dropping in your second season in the championship. In 22nd and occupying my final relegation spot, I've gone with Blackburn Rovers. Now, there's a lot of chaos with Blackburn surrounding the Venkies and taking money out of India and whatnot, but it just feels like, in my humble opinion, the quality within that squad is just not there, especially if Sammy Smolic leaves. That is a massive issue. I'm kind of uninspired by the recruitment so far. Like Danny Bath and Andy Varman's provided experience, which is lacking last season to a certain degree, and will be good John Eustace players. But then you have the kind of unknowns of Yuki Hashahi and Maktar Gay, who I'm sure will turn out to be decent signings, but whether they can step up in a volatile environment that is Blackburn at the moment will be interesting, and especially if they lose Sammy Smolic, that is going to be a massive, massive blow. He's still at the football club as we sit here and speak, but if he does go, Blackburn are losing a hell of a lot of goals, and considering they barely stayed up last season, that's going to be a massive blow for them. In 21st, and my second newly promoted side, I've gone with Derby County to just stay up after their return to the Championship. I like the recruitment so far. David Ozo looks like a promising player from Palace. Ebu Adams was crucial to their promotion last season from League One. Kenzo Goodman from AZ Alkmaar looks like a high-profile one. Jerry Yates and Caden Jackson have been in the Championship before, and Ben Osborne is someone who's been here and done it in the Championship with Sheffield United as well. So I do like the recruitment, but it's just about how the quality within that squad and kind of the problem of the average age of that squad is going to cope in the Championship with this poor worn high intensity setup. I've got Derby to be fine, but just. In 20th, and it is League One champions Pompey, and I've got them surviving in their first season back in the Championship after a while under John Mousinho. Now, I was very impressed with Portsmouth last season, so much so, in fact, I made a whole video on them, which you can go check out after this one. And I've got them in 20th, mainly because I feel like the competition around them is quite strong. I've got, and as you'll see in a minute, a couple of teams dropping down quite a lot of positions, and I just don't see Pompey being better than them over a course of 46-game season. Josh Murphy, I like to pick up off from Oxford, kind of a very decent signing. Sammy Silvera has a point to prove in the Championship after being unimpressive at Middlesbrough. Jacob Farrell and Elias Sorensen are unknown to me and a lot of fans. So it'll be interesting to see how Mousinho molds it all together. But at the moment, I am a little bit wary. So I'm going to put Pompey in 20th, surviving, but just. In 19th, and I dropped down 4 places from last season, I have got Tom Cleverley's Watford side, and I just am not convinced in the slightest by this Watford side at the minute. The recruitment of Mr. Sissoko and Yasser Larouci is a bit unconvincing, and then losing the likes of Ishmael Kone, and then from last season, Emmanuel Dennis, and it looks like they're going to lose Espria either to Saudi or to Rennes. It's really, really worrying at the moment, and pre-season hasn't particularly been kind to them either. And I know it's pre-season, can't really read a lot into it, but there's a lot of things at the moment that just aren't filling me with hope, more so than the fact that Gino Pozzo again looks like he's uninterested in Watford at the minute. So I've got them once again dropping down the Championship since the relegation from the Premier League, and I've got them dropping into 19th. In 18th, and a team I've actually got dropping down 8 places from last season, is Preston North End. Now, Preston did very well to finish 10th last season under Ryan Lowe, and under his tenure, they've actually got better season on season league table wise, but I just see that falling off a little bit. I feel a bit of a regression to the mean really will happen for Preston, and just haven't really shown too much in this transfer window so far either to really strengthen that squad. Sam Greenwood on loan was inconsistent for Middlesbrough last season. I just need to see more from Preston this transfer window if they're to convince me they're to be finishing in the top half again next season. In 17th, and a team I don't think many people have a clue on in terms of what they're going to be doing for the rest of the transfer window, what the squad's going to be looking like on August 31st, is Hull City. Now, this would be an impressive drop-off of 10 places in the Championship, which you'll do well not to get relegated with, but so was the finish Hull obtained last season, finishing 7th, missing out on the playoffs on the final day under Liam Rossigna. They've now hired Tim Walter. They've lost a whole load of their loan players, including Fabio Carvalho. They've retained Ryan Giles on what was an obligation to buy from Luton, which is a decent signing. They've signed Cody Drama on a permanent. They are being linked with a couple of other players. They keep missing out on players to other clubs, latest of them being Brandon Thomas Asante, who they've missed out onto Coventry. It's just a bit chaotic at the moment, and you never really know what you're going to get with Ashton or Charlie as well. So I'm going to go for Hull to have a pretty severe drop down in the Championship table, but enough for them to still be a decently mid-table side. In 16th, and another team I've got dropping down the Championship table, is Cardiff City. This would be a drop down of 4 places from last season's impressive 12th place finish under Errol Buller. They've signed the likes of Callum Chambers, Chris Willock, and Anwar El Ghazi, which are decent Championship pedigree signings. Bit of X factor there with Chris Willock. Can he recapture that impressive period he had at QPR when him and Elias Chair were the best duo in the Championship going forward? That will be tough. I am anticipating a bit of a rise from a couple of the teams from below Cardiff last season, so that's why I've had to kind of facilitate this to a certain degree. I don't think Cardiff are a bad side, and I do think Errol Bullock will make them quite hard to beat, and realistically they could finish anywhere from here to about 11th really with teams I've got in this period. But at the moment, their squad compared to some of the other squads, as well as just general feeling about the club, I've got Cardiff in 16th. In 15th place, I've got the very impressive Danny Roll and his Sheffield Wednesday side. Now, I know a lot of people have gone kind of full out with this and put Sheffield Wednesday even higher than this in the top half, in the top 10, some even in the top 6, and very reputable content creators. And I completely understand it because Danny Roll is there. But I'm looking at this mid-table region, the Championship, and thinking it's very strong. Have the Sheffield Wednesday squad really compete with teams I've got just above them? It's a bit unknown to me. So I've been a bit conservative. I do like the recruitment a lot, and they've added a lot really already in this window. The Jamal and Max Lowe are 2 very good Championship players, and then the experience of Ben Hamer and Chalobah is good. Re-signing of James Beadle on loan is an excellent addition again, and Danny Roll is, I have no words, really unbelievable job last season to keep Sheffield Wednesday in the division when they looked doomed. So I've gone for an increase of 5 places on last season's 20th place finish, but there's a potential with this manager for a hell of a lot more. In 14th place, and I have gone with Stoke City. Now, this has felt like Stoke's glass ceiling since returning from the Premier League, and that's because they haven't finished higher than 14th since returning from the Premier League in relegation. This summer feels a little bit different. It hasn't been kind of gun-ho like it was last summer under Alex Neil and Steven Schumacher. This summer it's been a little bit more fine-tuned, a bit more refined. Sam Gallagher, Victor Johansson, some really decent Championship players. Victor Johansson impressing massively for Rotherham last season. A bit of experience with Ben Gibson and Eric Bokat and Victor Gromek are kind of unknown quantities to the Championship. So I do like the recruitment. I do like Steven Schumacher a lot, and I think his kind of style of play was very successful with Plymouth in League One and in the Championship. So Stoke fans will be hoping that can be translated to a little bit more of a higher ceiling and a bigger club in Stoke. So for their sake, I hope they do better than this, but at the moment I've got them in 14th. In 13th place, and the only team in the Championship that I have predicted not to be moving an inch from last season, is Millwall, and I've got Millwall in 13th once again this season under Neil Harris. I do like the recruitment. Lucas Jensen and Liam Roberts really strengthened that goalkeeping department. Lucas Jensen was brilliant in League One last season with Lincoln, one of the best goalkeepers in the division. Jaffa Tanganga being brought back on a free transfer is excellent business. Macaulay Langstaff has won the Golden Boot in League Two and in the National League. In League Two, in the side that finished in the bottom half as well. So brilliant business, in my opinion, to bring him in, bring him to the Den. I have got a few reservations over Neil Harris, which is why I probably haven't got Millwall much higher than this and into the top half, but I feel like they'll be solid enough to be in 13th again and kind of being upwardly mobile after kind of Joe Edwards and Gary Rowett moving on from what was a pretty shambolic first half to last season. Moving into the top half, and another manager who performed miracles last season is Martí Cifuentes at QPR. Now this would be a 6th place climb in the Championship table. I like the recruitment, a lot of unknowns in what they've brought to Loftus Road this season. The likes of Jonathan Varane and Dusan Shelar and Veton Santos look decent signings from abroad, and Liam Morrison looks like a decent player who impressed at Wigan last season. He's been brought in from Bayern Munich. So I do like the recruitment. It's whether they can keep Elias Chair, and then obviously lost Chris Willock, who's a bit of a blow, but he's not really been at it for the last couple of years. So I'm kind of banking on Martí Cifuentes to keep the ball rolling and keep QPR upwardly mobile into the top half, and climbing 6 places, which would be a very, very good return for Rangers. In 11th place, I've got Sunderland. Now this would be a climb of 5 positions into the top half, and under Reggie Labrie, who's got a good track record of developing young players, and Sunderland have got an incredibly young squad that has a lot of untapped potential in it. I feel like they'll start moving in the right direction again and be closer to where they were 2 seasons ago under Tony Mowbray, which finished in the top 6 of the Championship. They've added Alan Brown and Ian Poveda, who've been in the Championship recently and have got good experience. At the moment, they still have Jack Clark, and he isn't being heavily linked with a move anywhere. So I do hope for their sake, if they keep him, they'll be a much better side than they were last season. I feel like some of the players that were there last season and that were young and kind of getting used to this Championship setup will start to click into gear a little bit better, and that is why I've got Sunderland moving up 5 places. In 10th place, I have got Luke Williams and Swansea, and this would be a climb up of 4 league positions from last term. And I've got it really because I really like Luke Williams, and I think he's a really good manager, and I really liked what he did at Notts County, promotion from the National League, and when he left Notts in League Two, they were in the playoffs, if I'm not mistaken. So I do like what they're doing there at Swansea with Luke Williams, and the recruitment so far this summer hasn't been bad. There's a lot of kind of foreign recruitment all across the Championship, really, but so particularly so at Swansea, Gonzalo Franco and Ji Sung Yum and Zan Victonic have all come in from abroad, and Lawrence Vigouroux has been brought in from Burnley, and he's been hopefully going to be given a chance at Championship level, not being really given one at Burnley. Nathan Wood has left, but I do think they can make up for that loss rather easily. So I've got Swansea climbing up 4 league positions, mainly because I quite like Luke Williams and I think he's a very good manager. In 9th place, I've got Norwich City. Now this would be a drop of 3 places from last season's 6th place finish, and in the playoffs, Norwich last season under David Wagner, but he's gone. Jonathan Thorpe's come in from Norway. Ben Napper's got his man. It feels like there's more of a plan at Norwich and that wasn't quite evident to the fans last season and seasons before that as well. So a transition season might not be the worst thing from a Norwich perspective, Gabriel Sara looks like he's set to join Galatasaray at time of recording. The signings that have come in have been slow but decent additions. Ben Crescene and also Cordoba look decent players, and Ben Crescene has been in the Championship before, and he looks like a decent signing. So yeah, I'm going to go for a transition period under Jonas Hoftorp, and similar to what happened potentially under Daniel Farke, where he took one season and then really rebuilt the side, and then Norwich to go fully for the Premier League kind of dream the season after that. So I'm going to go for a transition period for Norwich this time round. In 8th place, and this is what you've been waiting for, is my side, Bristol City. I've got in 8th. This will be a climb of 3 positions in the Championship table, and I do think we can anticipate another kind of step up a level, really, from this Bristol City side this season under Liam Manning. I really liked what we showed to us the back end of last season, and the additions of Max Bird and Sinclair Armstrong and Fally Mayulu look decent. We're still waiting on Yu Hirakawa, obviously, to come back from the Olympics with Japan on the 23s, and it possibly looks like maybe Scott Twine or Luke McNally could be added into the squad as well. So hopefully Bristol City can kind of get their act together, because there is a good squad in there, and I do firmly believe that Manning, if he gets things going, can really push this squad in the right direction. So here's fingers crossed that Bristol City can go next level and just really push for the playoffs. And if we finish 8th, that would not be a bad season in my eyes. And 7th, and another team I've got dropping out of the playoffs, similar to Norwich from last season, is West Bromwich Albion. And that might come as a bit of a surprise to some, but I really like Carlos Corberán. If there was any other manager apart from Carlos Corberán, I'd have West Brom probably in the bottom half, to be honest, but he just is such a good manager. They've lost some key players, including Brandon Thomas Asante, Connor Townsend, Akaya Kuzla, who was just a brilliant player, Cedric Kipre as well. So they have lost key players, and they haven't necessarily adequately replaced them to the same quality, in my humble opinion, up to this point. Usman Diakate has been brought in, he's unknown. And then you've got Devante Cole and Paddy McNair, who are known quantities in the Championship, but how good are they in terms of replacing the quality they've lost? I'm unsure. I've only got West Brom in 7th because of Carlos Corberán, and yeah, for their sake, they'll be hoping they can keep him around, away from any potential interest from bigger and better clubs. And well, West Brom, there's always kind of that risk in the background of any potential chaos ensuing as well. So hopefully, from West Bromwich Albion perspective, it's a nice calm season with Carlos Corberán still being there at the end of it. Into the top 6 then, the main event, one may say. In 6th position, I've got Coventry in 6th under Mark Robins. They've lost Callum O'Hare, which is a major loss, but the squad there is just superb. Haji Wright, Ellis Sims, then you've got Ben Sheaf and Takahiro Sakamoto, and they've also added Jack Rodoni and Brandon Thomas Asante to that. They had a few issues in goalkeeping department last season, but they've brought in Oliver Dolvin. I just really like Coventry, and think Mark Robins is great, and I like the recruitment as well. And they've built a squad now for a year and a bit that looks ready to go in the Championship and looks ready to go in terms of getting to the playoffs as well. So I've got Coventry in the 6th. In 5th, I've got Sheffield United. Now, if this was a few weeks ago, I'd have Blades well down this list. I would not have them anywhere near the playoffs. But the recruitment has been good up to this date. James Shackleton, Sam McCallum, Kiefer Moore, Harrison Burrows is brilliant business, and then Callum O'Hare on a free in the Championship is a brilliant business as well. And I do think that, combined with the fact they already have quality in the Championship from before, it's not a terrible, awful squad. They won the Premier League last season. They've got Oliver Arblaster, Gustavo Hamer. They've lost Ollie McBurney, which is a bit of a loss, but they've got players in there that can step up in the Championship level. And Chris Wilder knows his way out this league as well. So I am cautiously optimistic from a Blades point of view, and I do think they can challenge this season. So I've got them in 5th and in the playoffs. And if my predictions are going to be accurate, they're not, by the way. The side that will be facing Sheffield United in the playoffs will be Middlesbrough, who I've got predicted in 4th. Now, this feels like a big season for Michael Carrick. I think many people gave him a pass last season because it was a massive squad rebuild the summer before, and they lost a lot of key players, including Ryle Giles and Zach Steffen, Ramsey and Archer, etc. So there was a bit of a feeling of get this season underway, don't be in any massive trouble, get in the top half and stuff like that. And towards the back end of last season, Middlesbrough were playing some excellent football and winning a lot of games. They kind of fine-tuned it a little bit. Luke Ayling's come back. They've added Delano Bergsorg and Aidan Morris. They've been linked with Bush City striker Tommy Conway quite heavily as well. So it's just about fine-tuning that already good squad and adding to it. And they have Emmanuel Latte-Latham there as well, guaranteed goals last season. So can Middlesbrough go one better and really push for the top 6 this season? I think they can, and I've got them in 4th. In 3rd, and just missing out on the top 2, I've got Luton Town. So now you can figure out my top 2 for yourself. They have been a bit slow in the transfer market this summer. Only Alexander Baptiste really of notice, and Royal Walters has come in on a free transfer as well. But they've lost Barkley, they've lost Osho, which is a big loss as well. I do trust Rob Edwards, and I think that Luton will add enough players towards the back end of this window to really push themselves as a good side in the Championship. And they've already got the basis of a squad that's very good in the Championship anyway, and they did that last summer whilst adding, some really top quality players. So I trust Rob Edwards. I trust Luton to kind of navigate their way around the Championship. They've got out of this division before, so yeah, I've got Luton in 3rd and just missing out on automatic promotion. In 2nd place, I've got Burnley, and I've got Burnley in 2nd purely because of the manager compared to the side I've got in 1st, who I'll talk about in a minute. Scott Parker doesn't convince me in the slightest, and I'm going to be quite open about that. But the squad he's got at his disposal is an absolute joke at this level. The quality oozes out of that Burnley team, and the players that were recruited last summer in the Premier League have come straight back down. Hopefully, from a Burnley point of view, are just going to click straight into gear. There's still a lot of trimming to be done in that squad. They've got a hell of a lot of players and bloated Championship squad, but they've got a lot of quality within the players they do already have within them, who are going to be key players next season. And yeah, Scott Parker, despite me having serious questions about him, has got a reputation for getting teams out of the Championship who've got a lot of quality in their squad. So I see this being no different really. So I've got Burnley in 2nd. And finishing in 1st and winning the league outright, I've got Daniel Farke and Leeds United. And it just feels like the perfect marriage, doesn't it? Farke, Championship, Leeds, massive club, so much quality within their side. It just feels right. And I think Leeds will do it this time round compared to last season. They were quite unlucky where the average points tally was shot up for 2nd and 1st last season by both Ipswich and Leicester. So they were quite unlucky, and then the playoffs just got a bit undone by Southampton, didn't they? So I've got Leeds to win the league. They've lost Somerville as of now, and to West Ham, but they have added quality like Sir Jane Bogle, and they've retained at the moment Rutter and Nonto, which is massive as well. And they've already got enough quality within the side to go again for promotion. So I've got Leeds to win the league, and it's quite, in my opinion, a safe bet. So that was my 1 to 24 Championship predictions for the 24-25 season. Let me know your predictions down in the comment section down below. I'm very interested to hear them. There are a lot of tough picks. There are some quite obvious ones. The mid-table region is particularly strong and quite divisive this time around, and I've seen a lot of different picks. There's a lot of chaos, a lot of clubs, and yeah, I do feel like this is quite a tough season to predict in the Championship, and I'm sure we'll be seeing a lot of different teams getting promoted and relegated in many people's predictions as well. So yeah, if you're bold enough, get yours in the comment section down below. But I'm going to go take a break because that was very stressful again, and during that video, I still had a lot of kind of second thoughts about teams I've had in certain positions. So I'm going to take a break. Thank you very much for watching. Keep safe, and I'll catch you all later. Cheers.